So literally every time I'm ready to like sit down and record, our neighbors who are woodworkers decide to work. Every time. Hey guys, it's Kate here again. And for this video, I'm going to be going a little bit deeper into my story and a little bit more about me so that you can know who I am and just get a better idea the path that led me to where I am today. But before all that, I did just want to let you know that a huge part of who I am is that I am a born-again Christian. That is at the core of who I am and at the core of the decisions that I choose to make. I'm not going to hound Christianity into every single video that I do, but the beliefs and the values that I have because of Christianity influence the decisions that I make and how I approach entrepreneurship. And so just know that that is a huge part of myself and my story and how this all comes together. So yeah, if you actually have any questions about that and why I feel it's made such an impact on my life, I would be happy to tell you that story, give you my testimony, and dive into the gospel and how it can change and impact your life. But for now, let's go ahead and jump back into my story. I grew up, born and raised in Southern California. About 2 years ago, I moved closer to San Diego because when I initially went full-time with photography, I was constantly commuting to either LA or San Diego area, and I kind of just wanted to pick one place and just grow there and not really have commuting be a normal thing. And I actually had friends who lived out this way where I live now, and ultimately I was supposed to come out this way anyway because this is where I met my husband, Ryan. I met Ryan through the church that I'm going to out here. We both served in the college ministry and knew each other for about 6 months, but weren't really interested in each other at all. And then towards the end of those 6 months, we both just started talking to each other more, and then he eventually asked me out and then asked me to be his girlfriend and then asked me to marry him. And that's where we are today. As I mentioned in the last video, we did get married on April 9th and have been loving this basically 2-month honeymoon because of the quarantine. I love him so much. He supports me in everything that I do and is my biggest hype man. So now into my entrepreneur story a little bit. I feel like I've always had the entrepreneurial bug. I remember having a jewelry business when I was younger, before like age 10, and I would legit just make earrings and make jewelry, and I would sell them to my homeschool group. Yes, I was homeschooled my whole life, and they would buy it and they really enjoyed it. And then right after that phase, I wanted to be a writer, so I started to write little mini stories and I would give them to my friends as gifts for their birthdays. And by the time I hit high school was when photography kind of started to take off a little bit more. I always had a camera in my hand, like I said in the first video, but it was always just a hobby. But then it kind of started to be something that I would receive money from. And then eventually I ended up shooting my very first wedding at 17. And from that point on, I was hooked. I still didn't think that it was gonna become my full-time job, but I definitely was like, okay, this is something that I wanna do on the side that I can get some extra income from, and plus it's just fun. Like, I love it so much, so why not get some extra income from it? And so photography just continued to keep growing. I started getting other people, other friends of friends and things like that who started to reach out and say, hey, would you want to shoot our wedding? After my first wedding at 17, I think I started shooting about 2 to 3 weddings per year, like for the 2 years after that, maybe 5 for like the second year after that. And then I was at a job, just a 9-to-5 job. I was a manager at a grocery store. And even though I loved it there and I loved the fast-paced environment and like getting things done, I just, every day when I woke up knowing that I had to go to work, I was just like, ugh, I don't want to do this. I want to be able to have my own schedule. And so during like that whole mind transition, photography was growing. And then I started second shooting for photographers and like getting my feet wet with weddings more and like really starting to love it. And so by the time I was 20, I was like itching to just do it and just like have photography be my job. And it was just weird, like the mindset shift of like, I didn't really want it to be a full-time job. And then all of a sudden it was just like, I saw the possibilities that could come with owning your own business and the flexibility that comes with that. And so I was just on fire. And so I quit my 9-to-5 job and I started doing photography full-time. And the very first thing right off the bat that I did after I went full-time was I went to a bridal show. I was 20, that was like 2016, and then that January 2017, I was just like, all right, let's do this. Like, I have no other choice. Like, I have to provide for myself. And so did the bridal show, got 10 weddings. I ended up growing, like booking more weddings for 2017 and ended up finishing my first year full-time at 21 weddings. At the end of 2017, I invested in a business workshop because I had a camera in my hand for like ever. I had a pretty basic and knowledgeable grasp on how to take a photo, how to make it look good, and my editing was getting better. And so I was like, this is all great, but I don't know how to run a business. And so then that's when I like invested in a workshop and started to invest in other people helping me to understand business and what I needed to do. That helped me so much. I went from 21 weddings in like 2017 to 2018, I shot 31, and then last year, 2019, I ended at about 34. And then 2019 was the year that I did hit 6 figures, and I was on track to do that for 2020. Unfortunately, this thing in the world happened, and it's kind of just thrown a wrench in the plans, but that's the part of entrepreneurship that I think is so fascinating and so amazing, is that we learn to pivot with every single thing that happens, whether in the world or in our lives. Some of the most successful companies in the world started during a recession or started during an economic disaster. And I think that just is a testament to entrepreneurship and what needs to happen. I really want to just use what I've learned over the past few years, coming out of that, starting young, being an amateur, being a young amateur, and like all of the ins and outs that came with that. Because I'm so fresh out of that, I want to speak into the people that are in that stage of life and who are young and who have started a business and who are wanting to learn more but don't necessarily have the funds to invest in big workshops or in mentorships or in things like that. I fully believe that it's important to take risks and invest in your business. That's the only reason why I was able to make 6 figures last year, was because I invested in my business. But I also understand that not everybody was in the spot that I was in. Granted, I was just like any other 20-year-old working at a grocery store. Like, I wasn't making something crazy, but it was enough for me to have some savings built up and to kind of figure out what needed to happen. Sometimes I was scraping by paycheck to paycheck and I was in debt, and like that all happened. My dad was my example when it came to hard work and when it came to what was necessary in order to provide. And so his example of hard work is the example that I used for my business, and that I think is a huge reason why I was able to be successful, is because of that example and because of understanding that hard work is hard work. And sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to because you need to. There are so many little videos in themselves within the things that I said, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that's a little bit more about me and a little bit behind who I am as a person. I love Christ with all of my heart. I married my husband, and I told you a little bit more about my entrepreneur story, how I got started, how I was able to start a full-time job at 21. Hopefully that gives you an idea of just who I am and my heart behind this, and why I want to reach out to people and help them using this platform of YouTube. I hope that was helpful. I hope you're able to connect a little bit more with me, and I'm so excited for these next couple videos because they are going to be the prerequisites that I talked about to really start diving into my channel. So be sure to watch those before you really start on this journey, because they are so crucial and so important. Be on the lookout for those. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment down below if anything that I said about my story resonates with you. I would love to say hi, like and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you know when I upload next. Thank you again so much, guys. I'll see you next time.